Hi, Scrappy Peeps. Suzanna here today to share with you our latest stash bash. We are bashing our chipboard today, and I have used this chipboard set from Crate Paper. Using it's Pretty Party is the collection, and it is way back. I was looking at it the other day, and I think it said, hold on, let me look. It's from 2011. I guess it's only 6 years old, but in my scrapbook stash, that's kind of old. So I have these two pictures of my daughter on her first day of school, first day of her last day of elementary school. And I knew I wanted to use these particular chipboards, so I pulled papers that had the yellow, the pink, and the green colors in them from my stash. I pulled out some Jelly Bean, and I also had a 6x6 paper pad from American Crafts that I wanted to use the florals from to tie everything together. So I chose that yellow piece as my background for the page. I have been putting pages away in my albums lately and realized that there are an awful lot of white backgrounds. And while I like the white backgrounds, I actually prefer colored backgrounds. So even if it's just a color like this with a light pattern on it. So that particular piece, I knew I wanted to be my uniting piece of paper. I like when I'm scrapping to have a piece of pattern paper that has all of the colors in the collection in it, if I can, or not in the collection, in the color palette that I'm going to use. So I'm deciding here whether I want to keep that as a 6x6 or whether I want to trim it down. I typically like to trim it down. I don't like a square on a square. It gives the layout a very boxy feel, but the rest of the embellishments that I use actually end up making this look less boxy. So one of the tricks that I like to use when I'm using chipboard is I've got wax paper. I'm not sure if you saw me pull that off the roll there, but I like to put the chipboard on wax paper, and that way I have a clear surface that I can look for the alignment and arrangement of things and move it around without continuously peeling off the chipboard and leaving a sticky residue behind. I print my pictures at home, and I print them on a matte paper. And because I print them at home and they're matte, there's no finish on them. So if I put things down and I pull them back off, it actually pulls the ink off. And while I really love the paper that I use, as well as the matte look, I don't like having all of my pictures ruined and having to reprint them over and over again. So I've pulled off all the pieces from the chipboard collection that I want to use so that I can shuffle things around. I am not a huge fan of chipboard, I have to say. I don't like the bulk on my pages, and I don't like that when you pick up the page flops over. So I really appreciated this challenge this month to use some of the chipboard, because I always buy the chipboard. I love it, and I can just never find a way to get it on my page in a way that it doesn't look like this big eyesore standing off the page. And I have to tell you that I really love the way that this turned out. I am thrilled to pieces that I played along this month, and I hope you like the finished result as well. And I tell you that using the wax paper, because you'll see that these poor old butterflies and flowers get shifted around a ton as I try and figure out some symmetry to this, as well as once I get additional papers on there, some additional symmetry. So I have a header up there, and I want a little bit more to the header because the header is very straight, and I am a type A highlighted, bolded, and underlined person. I've told you that before, and I like to have clean edges. So if I have an edge that's not symmetrical, I like it to just be a little bit, kind of like that green strip down there. So the top is very heavy and it needs a bottom. So I have a footer from this Jelly Bean. And can you see how with the header and the footer, and then with this asymmetrically cut strip as well, how it takes that boxy feel away from the layout? So I was pleased with how that went. So I finally committed to that flower down the bottom there, and I really like the weight of the big butterfly up at the top right with the flower, the bigger flower down the bottom. The problem is when I come to adhere this, and you'll see this later on, is that the butterfly doesn't fit there. It looks okay as I'm lining it up, as I've got it lined up here. However, when you put it on the page, it didn't fit quite the way that it fit there. It's funny how that happens when you go to permanently adhere things, how it just changes. So you'll see how I shift that around. So I know I want these headers and these footers, and I like the way that they are, and I commit to those. And then it's time to work on that center focal piece with the pictures there. So I like it the way it is, but I want a little bit more color to it. I like layers behind my pictures. I don't like too many layers, but I do like layers. So I'm just rifling through this paper pad to look for some coordinating either pink or green to use behind the picture. I moved this label, and as I was rewatching the video and editing the video, I'm not sure why I moved it. It has to stay there because I've journaled on it now, but I actually do like it better on the other side. What do you think? Do you have, I don't know, it could work both ways. So now I'm just, again, shuffling around these butterflies and looking for the placement of how that chipboard is going to go. And starting to build some layers behind the pictures. This is a glassine bag from Beagle Mom Scraps. I love the glassine bags behind pictures because it not only gives you a place to nestle hidden journaling if you want, but it also just adds a little bit of dimension to the page. And I'm not sure, I shifted that whole bottom clump of embellishments over a little bit because I wanted to create this line that you moved from the green at the top right to the pictures to the left and then back over to the middle. So it was sort of a bit of a visual triangle that I was trying to create. That's why I moved everything over. So for my stash, I had used these cut apart cards from Shamil recently, and I thought that I actually had pulled the paper for the other side, but I really liked the colors in these cards. They complemented the colors that I was using here, and they were the perfect splash of color behind the pictures. So I cut out that green one, and I cut out the hot pink one, and there was a part of me that wanted to save the words, the verbiage, to use somewhere else, but really I have so much stuff in my room that there was no need. Why create more scraps from scrap? So, and it's just a whole lot easier and less time consuming to just use them as they are. So these are all of the final pieces that I've got going on my layout. It's just a matter of arranging them and finding a configuration that will work for me. So it didn't take long to do that, and it's time to just adhere them down. I like to build the layers and adhere them down as best I can to the pictures before putting them onto the actual layout, because the pictures and the alignment of the pictures are what always ends up getting messed up. So adhering that down and sticking these down. And then time to arrange this chipboard, which is what we're bashing in our stash this month. I can't wait to see what the other ladies do. There's only 4 of us hopping this week or this month. There's Christine and Rebecca and Laura and myself. So I'll link you down below the 4 of us, or the other 3 ladies that are stashing, and I can't wait to see what they do with their chipboard stash. So you can see how I move that big butterfly, and it's too heavy on the left. So I move it down to the right, which is where it ends up staying. However, I pull out a third flower for some weight. Again, by moving the things that I have, it works with that same line of pull that I wanted to create with those strips. So from that top right to the left to the middle and the center of the page. And that ends up being the final configuration. And again, I do love the way that it looks, but looking at it right there, I almost should have kept that butterfly over to the far right hand side of that top green strip. However, I do put in some stickers, which I think I end up doing off camera, and I journal underneath there, so you still have that weight that moves across the page. So you can see how having that wax paper really allows me to move things around nicely and until I figure out a good alignment. So here we go with titling. I thought I was going to use those stickers, but I end up finding these old chipboard alphas from Studio Calico, which goes perfectly with our bashing of chipboard. And these are also pretty old. I can't find the date on them. Oh, those are also from 2011, but they were the perfect complement to that green for the title. And you can see where these actually have the paper sticker behind the sticker paper because they're sticker chipboards, and so it was easy to pull the paper off and just slide them around. I anchor a lot of chipboard pieces down with my liquid adhesive. Chipboard tends to not stick very well, and I just like that little added oomph so that they don't shift off the page, especially when they are behind page protectors and you go back years later and they've shifted all down to the bottom of the page. So this is going to be the end of this. After I adhere these, we're going to call that good. I love this page. Thanks for joining us on the Stash Bash today. Make sure you check in with all the other girls. Enjoy the close-ups, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I'd love to help you out. Thanks for stopping in today. Bye.